I'm Dinesh. I'm a postdoctoral at DWI-RWTH. I'm actually working on 3D bioprinting of heart, and it was funded by Sonocraft, a European Union project. And so, as part of the project, I need to do some particles and the integration into a GPU-based finite volume method solver. So in that process, I wrote this little bit of code which is called Jaali. This is essentially to find the point in a given mesh, like which cell it actually belongs to. So before I go into the details, let me tell you where it can actually be used. So if you look at tissues, recently you have this lab on a chip, tissue printing. So you have this acoustic fluid medium and you have these cells inside them. They're actually acted as particles. And provided the force applied externally, you actually form kind of patterns of cells. So that essentially you will ultimately have a tissue. Not just over there. Recently, you have this Mars rover going and traveling there, and there you need to know how actually this tire and the sand is being interacted. So you want to minimize the wear of this tire. So this tire is actually modeled using finite volume method, and the sand is modeled with discrete element method. Even there, you need to know which finite volume mesh cell is my grain is actually touching. And even one more famous application is fluidized bed. Even there you have the CFD thing, which is modeled with mesh, and you have these particles inside this thing. So having said that, so to go a little bit one more technically, so you have this mesh-based solver. So we solve a Stokes problem using finite volume method, and you have particles embedded inside it. And at each cell, I need to know where my point actually belongs to. And from the data of that each cell, I will compute force on that particle and I'll start to move it. So if you actually look at the mesh and you zoom it, you'll see these triangles all over the place. And as I said, so this in typical mesh-based schemes like finite volume method, finite element method, you see this scheme. And if you want to do any kind of multi-phase simulations, you need to have particles inside them, and you need to know very quickly that which cell it actually belongs to, so that you can do your simulations faster and get the results faster. So yes, so we already have great tools which are like there for 25 years now, like CGAL and SciPy. As you can see, the API is also very straightforward. You actually import the mesh and you have points like queries, and you just get the cells of this triangle back. So this is written in Python, and you have this C++ alternative as well. It's the same API, it's very simple API. You actually take the mesh, you make it into faster data structure, then you give them points, and it will give you back the points, the cell IDs it belongs to. Great. So why should I even do this? So the problem is, so with this Sonocraft project where I was working, so they have this super fast finite volume method solver written for the GPU. It is actually 50 times faster. It's called Accordin. And so as you can see, they actually model this helical microbot inside this microfluidic regime. So we actually want to integrate our point in cell finder inside the Rust code. Not like once you run the simulation, you get the data, then you pull back into CPU, then use this CGAL or SciPy. No, we don't want that. We want to integrate a fast point in cell finder into the existing according solver, so that it is all inside the time loop and it is very fast. So having said that, so what is the objective? So having said this, what I want is I want everything inside the code, not that I write output every time step or every once in time step and call it again on the CPU and run it. No. And so with that constraint, so I can't use Seagull or SciPy anymore. So, and one more thing I thought is, yes, Rust is actually works really well. So I thought, okay, well, I don't want to target only for the GPU, that, if one doesn't have GPU, he no more can't use this software. So I want to make sure this simple point in cell finder can be used on the CPU as well as GPU, but I want the API to be extremely minimalistic. Just by changing one word, they should be able to run it on, whatever kind of backend. So having said that, let me get to the how I'm actually implementing this thing. So say that you take a very simple mesh. So mesh can be, how would you represent the mesh is you have this vertices and you have corresponding triangles. So each mesh you have some 8 points. So you can see the 8 points here. So I have two arrays, which represents X point and Y point. And similarly, this mesh is discretized into several triangles, 8 triangles here. And each triangle has first point, second point, and third point. And for all of the triangles, the first point has a single array. So this T0 corresponds to the first point of triangle, all the triangles. Similarly, T1 and T2. Say that you want to know the vertices of T3. So you'll go to T3 and you'll take 1, 5, and 4. That will get me the triangle, which is actually vertices of the triangle, which is T3. So why should I use struct of arrays? It actually is a very fast, and GPU loves if you actually write your algorithms when you organize your data in terms of struct of arrays rather than array of structs. And also it is, provided you explain it very well, it is very, very easy to understand for, it's just a simple array representation. So yes, so we have this mesh representation. I take it and I use this little struct here, try mesh, and since you cannot dynamically increase the GPU memory, what you do is you first load the entire mesh into the CPU, so that it can actually increase. You can increase the arrays. You can actually encapsulate all the mesh. Then you move it to the GPU, and this is how we move the mesh which is on the CPU to the GPU. One assumption I made in this case is our mesh doesn't change throughout our simulations. No, we our mesh doesn't change. So what we have so far is we have a mesh. It is represented on the CPU. It is also represented on the GPU. Now I can simply use a brute force algorithm, take all the points, check each cell. So till now, what we were able to achieve is I'm able to find pointing cell on the CPU and on the GPU. So multi-backend is actually solved. But the problem is you don't want to check each cell because it is very slow. So we need some optimized solution to actually make it faster. So this is a very standard literature algorithms called bounding volume hierarchy algorithm. So what we do is we take our mesh, we start to divide it, and we divide it such that we make it half, we make it the other half. I can see here you divide it into nodes and you have sub nodes, and you divide it until such that your node only has single triangle, which is called leaf. As you can see here for our 8 triangle mesh, this is how this BVH would look like. So finally, you have each leaf will have a single triangle. Okay, good. So we have a bonding volume hierarchy on the CPU. So one more thing you need to remember whenever you're writing GPU codes is you cannot have this dynamic memory allocations on the GPU. You have the single same sized array all the time and you need to use it. So what we should do is we have to build our BVH on the CPU, and it is written in such a way that I don't use any sort of pointers. So it is a big array, single struct of arrays type, and it actually points itself into the single array to point it to the next nodes. This is what makes it very feasible to write this both to CPU and GPU because the algorithm is simplified to work on arrays. So having said that, so I have each node's data can be represented by xmin, xman, because it's actually a box, and you have left node, right node, the indices, and then finally, if is this node is actually a triangle, and this is how you represent on the CPU, because on the CPU this is how you build it. Just like how we ported our mesh to GPU, we will port our bonding volume hierarchy data structure to the GPU as well. As you can see here, you have BVH on the CPU, and you use this clone host to device, and you move it to GPU. Now, yeah, as I said, this is very fast, no pointers, struct of arrays, GPU is allowed to solve this thing. Now coming back, so as I said, I want the API to be super simple. And one more objective of me writing this is I want someone coming new to Rust and they want to use GPU. I want to take them and use them as a simple as an example to write GPU codes, and I want to show them how simple it could be. So it is very simple, just like CGAL and SciPy. You create the mesh for your locator. You give the mesh so that it will create this data structure for you, and you will let it know which backend you want to use. Is it CPU, is it GPU, or is it OpenMP? This parallel CPU, serial, or GPU. These three options you need to give it, and you simply do locator.locate all. It will simply locate all the points, and it will return an array of each particle which cell it actually belongs to. And it's also very simple. If you look at the code, you have this CUDA kernels, which takes care of how the CUDA kernel should work. And you actually save them in CUDA kernels and you call them inside the locator file. And depending on the backend, say you select GPU, it actually calls the GPU function, locate all GPU. So this locate all GPU internally calls CUDA kernel. That's how it is done. I will show it in the next slide. And if it is parallel or it is only on the CPU, then and internally in BVH, I wrote a simple function where it actually does everything using the BVH CPU data structure. It will compute your locate inside CPU only. Yes. So what you do is this is using CUDA crate. It's really amazing, very helpful to write call CUDA kernels from Rust. So this is how your CUDA kernel would look like. So you have this entire data structure, entire arrays you have to pass into this, and this is the algorithm which I actually use to test which cell it actually belongs to. And it's very straightforward. You just launch all the args like QX, QY, indices, and Xmin, Xmax, and just say unsafe launch. It just launches it. And yes, you have a mesh. You just have the points, and you can see the particles moving once it finds once it finds which cell it actually belongs to. Yes. So, and then, yeah, and the summary is, yes, I was able to achieve this, single code base, but it will work on CPU and GPU. So right now, Rust doesn't have any kind of heterogeneous computing software structure yet, like C++ has Cocos. So I have to write two code bases to do this algorithm. But the algorithm which runs inside is essentially same. So, but essentially I use two types of code bases to run it on different backends. Then I use struct of arrays to make it faster. And then, so it's also one of the important things is the result you get if you call from CPU or the GPU is the same, though the floating point operations are different on both of these. That's what I have achieved. And it's actually open source and you can check it in my website, in my GitHub profile. And it's very, very fast, depending on the CPU and on the GPU, it's almost 4 to 4x faster. And just a heads up, we are actually looking for a lot of software developers who are really good at Rust. If you think you need a job and you're good at Rust, then you can please contact our PI. It is based at RWTH, really amazing group, and you'll have a great time working there. Yeah, thank you.